So today we're going to be going over the exclusive buyer agency agreement, and the title exclusive buyer agent agreement. That word exclusive means we are moving forward real estate. What you see here is my company name. We're going to be the company, the firm that's going to exclusively represent you as a buyer. So therefore, you can't go and work with any other realtor but our firm. So it says here, the exclusive buyer agency agreement is entered into between the buyer and the firm, and as the buyer's exclusive agent to assist the buyer in the acquisition of real property, which may include any purchase, option, or exchange on terms and conditions acceptable to the buyer. So this means that we are working together. My firm, this agreement is between you and my firm. However, the individual agent who signs this agreement on behalf of the firm shall on behalf of the firm be primarily responsible for ensuring that the firm's duties hereunder are fulfilled. However, it is understood and agreed that other agents of the firm may be assigned to fulfill such duties and deemed appropriate by the firm. For purposes of this agreement, the term firm, as the context may require, shall be deemed to include the individual agent who signs this agreement and any other agents of the firms. Okay, this note says that the buyer is a corporation, limited liability company, trust, or other legal entity. The entity should be named as the buyer, and a duly authorized author, manager, trustee, or legal representative of the entity should sign the agreement on the entity's behalf. So, for instance, this is my LLC, Moving Forward Real Estate, but this document is going to be signed by myself, Michelle Capers. The buyer represents that as of the effective date of this agreement, the buyer is not a party to a buyer representation agreement with any other real estate firm. Buyer has received a copy of the Working with Real Estate Agents disclosure and has reviewed it with the firm. The buyer further represents that buyer has disclosed to the firm any information about any properties of the type described in paragraph 1 below that the buyer has visited at any open houses or that the buyer has been shown by any other real estate firm. So this section coming up here next is Section 1, and in this section I I don't like to put an actual address, because that means that we might have to do this buyer agency agreement over and over and over again. Just say, for instance, if you don't receive the first offer that we submit. So what I like to do is kind of generalize it. So what this statement is saying, that you're representing that you have not that you're not in another buyer agency agreement with anyone else, and no other person has showed you, even if they have showed you, a realtor has showed you any other property, or you talked to someone at an open house. My main concern is that you have not signed a buyer agency agreement with them. So once that is stated, then we can go into this agreement together, you and I, and with no other issues, and to make sure also it talks about the working with real estate agents. So on pretty much when we first meet under substantial contact, when you let me know that you are wanting me to represent you. However, if you talk to me about anything, your personal concerns, wants, needs, and desires, financial information, anything like that, that is substantial contact. So I will break down the Working with Real Estate Agents brochure with you. And this is not a contract. This is just a brochure for us to explain agency relationship with you. And in this instance, I will be representing you as your buyer's agent, but we will go through the other agency relationships with you and have you initial that, just to let you know that, just so you're aware of the other agency relationships. And then in section 1 here, I like to do a general area. First, we'll choose residential, because this is what you're purchasing, is a single family home, or it could be commercial. So this is a a part here in this agreement where you can actually have another agency agreement with another realtor who specializes in commercial. Like my company, we don't specialize in commercial at this time. We specialize in residential. So if you are out there looking for a home and a business, our company may be representing you as a buyer's agent to represent you to sell to help you purchase a residential property. But then you also can be under contract with someone else, an agency agreement with someone else who will represent you as the buyer's agent to help you find a commercial property, if that makes sense. And so in here, I like to use a general location. So if you are looking in the Fayetteville area, Rayford, Hope Mills, even Spring Lake, I would kind of put on here Cumberland County and surrounding areas and Harnett County, because we are here in Spring Lake and we are in Harnett County. So I would just kind of put that in this description here so we can cover all bases. So that means that whatever contract that you want to submit on a home, it can be in any of those areas without us have to put any specific address. So section 2, effect of agreement. The buyer intends to acquire real property of the type described in paragraph 1 by employing the firm as the buyer's exclusive agent. Buyer agrees to conduct all negotiations for such property through the firm and to refer to the firm all inquiries received in any form from other real estate firms, prospective sellers, or any other sources during the time this agreement is in effect. So if anyone tries to approach you, or you just go out there and you're looking on the weekends, and what you're able to do and go to different open houses and things like that, if someone speaks to you or talks to you, you just need to let them know that you are already represented by Moving Forward Real Estate, and let them know that up front. And be careful also when you go to these open houses, because they have seller sub agents in there. So a lot of times when we go to the open house and these condos or these homes or whatever, they're beautiful, and they have someone sitting in there that's giving you a tour and telling you about the property or whatever, and they're giving you all this information, and they seem really helpful, and they are for the most part. But I just want to let you all know that they work for the seller, not for you. So if you give them any type of pertinent information about yourself, that you just won the lottery, and if they remember your name, if we present an offer on the home, they can remember you, and they can use that against you and tell their seller who they represent, hey, this person just won the lottery, so I know that they have more than what they're offering right now. So let's kind of push back and counter at such and so, such and so. So it's just, you need to be careful when you are speaking to any other agent outside of us, the firm, outside of myself. Don't give them any information. You're just looking, just like when you go to a store and the rep comes up to you and says, is there anything that I can do? And you say, no, I'm just looking. Kind of just like that. Keep it just like that. And you can also let them know that you are under an agency agreement with Moving Forward Real Estate. Okay. Number 3, term of agreement. The term of this agreement shall begin on the effective date and shall terminate as follows. Okay, so we would check off one of these boxes. We could check off here where it says for buyers who intend to purchase a single property. So this is for someone that's just wanting to purchase one home. So then we would check off this if that is the case here. And then it will expire on whatever date that we put here at 11:59 on that date. And then this is for buyers that may want to purchase more than one property. So if you are maybe an investor and you're working with us now, we would probably check off this one so we don't have to repeat this agreement every time you find another investment, and then we would put a date here. And, we'll probably extend this out a year or so, because when I work with my investors, that's a long-term relationship. So once, let's just say if we do it for a year, we would renew it in a year, just to keep it. But we usually extend it out a while because I work with them for years. So, okay, so this is number 4. We're at the compensation of the firm. And here is where we will put in here a retainer fee. And at this time, Moving Forward Real Estate does not charge a retainer fee, but at one point in time, we may get to the point that we do. As of right now, we will put 0 in this section here. And right, this section was saying it shall or shall not be credited. So we haven't gotten to that point yet, but maybe in the future we will be adding that a fee, a retainer fee. And so this section after here talks about the buyer agrees that the firm's fee for the service here under shall be in the amount of 3% is what we're charging right now. You know, in the compensation, our commissions are negotiable, but right now our firm charges the 3%. So what we try to do is we try to get the sellers to pay for that. And in the past, the sellers have, but there's no guarantee. So the sellers, like I said, the sellers would pay for our commission rate. Even for sell by owners sometimes do that as well. They don't have a problem with paying for the buyer's commission rate, but it's not written in stone that is mandatory for any seller to pay us commission. So therefore, that amount that we put in here, if we don't get the payment or the difference of, like, if someone wants to just give us 2%, then the 1% would be your responsibility to pay us for us being hired as your buyer's agent, if that makes sense. So that's what our firm charges. Just to also add to that, the North Carolina Real Estate Commission and the North Carolina Association of Realtors does not determine the commission rate. Our firm does. So our firm charges 3%, and that's what we will put here in this insert in this section. Okay, and it says the firm shall seek the fee from a cooperating listing firm through a listing firm's offer of compensation in the MLS or otherwise, or from the seller if there is no listing firm. So that was, the for sale by owner. And the buyer agrees that the firm shall be entitled to receive the same in consideration for the firm's services hereunder. Okay, and this says if the if buyer purchases property where the compensation offered by the listing firm and or seller is less than the fee, or where no compensation is offered by either the listing firm or the seller, the buyer and the firm agrees that the buyer will pay the difference between the fee and the compensation offered unless prohibited by law. The firm will timely inform the buyer if the compensation offer is less than expected. Per federal regulations, a buyer obtaining a VA loan is not permitted to pay a broker fee or commission in connection with the services of a buyer's agent, though use of a buyer's agent is permitted. Firm may still seek compensation pursuant to paragraph 4B. If the buyer is seeking a VA loan. So that's pretty much it's self-explanatory, kind of just like what I said. If we are working with a firm or for sale by owner, and if they don't want to pay our commission, you as the buyer is responsible for paying our commission, or the difference between the 3%. The 2%, the 2.5%, whatever it is, the difference to make up the 3%. And now, if you are a veteran and you are using your VA loan, you're in the military, you can't. The law says that you can't pay us commission. So in that case, prayerfully, everything works out that the sellers will, or the firm will pay our commission at that time. But we will address that and deal with that when that time comes. Okay, if additional compensation, incentive, bonus, rebates, and or other valuable consideration is offered through the MLS or otherwise, buyer will permit the firm to receive it in addition to the fee. The firm shall timely disclose the promise or expectation of receiving any such additional compensation and confirm the disclosure in writing. So that's just saying if the sellers or the builders, they're doing some type of incentive and they're giving us a bonus of whatever, $2,000 if you bring us a buyer within the first 24 hours, or something like that. We have to let you know up front that this is what we are expected to receive if we move forward with this particular seller on this project for this, through this transaction. If they accept, I will receive a bonus, and that bonus does not is in addition to the fee that I still receive as my commission. That's just a bonus. So we are still expected as realtors to receive our commission, and if it's something that you had to, a difference that you had to pay, or the 3% that you had to pay for us for commissions, that is still in place regarding this this agreement that we're in. So our bonuses or incentives does not affect our commission rate. Okay, and we're on the bottom of page 1, and this is where we will sign. This is where we would initial. And this is just stating that when you initial any place on a contract or you sign, you're stating that you're understanding what has been said previous to these initials. And so let's move on down to C. The compensation shall be deemed earned under any of the following circumstances. If during this term of the agreement, the buyer and the assignee of the buyer or any person, legal entity acting on behalf of the buyer directly or indirectly enters into an agreement to purchase, option, and or exchange any property of the type described above, regardless of the manner in which the buyer was introduced to the property. Or if within blank days after the expiration of this agreement, the protection period, the buyer enters into a contract to acquire property introduced to the buyer during the term of this agreement by firm or any other third party, unless the buyer has entered into a valid buyer agency agreement with another real estate firm, or if having entered into an enforceable contract to acquire property during the term of this agreement, buyer defaults under the terms of this particular contract. So this section is saying this is how we're earning our commission, and even within a time frame, if you default and you go and work with another realtor, just say we terminated and you went and worked with another realtor and signed an agency agreement, we're going to put days here, which is a protection period. The agreement could have actually expired, or we could have just terminated for whatever reason, but we're going to put 30 days in here. So within that 30-day period, if you go ahead and terminate with me 30 days from that time, if you meet another realtor and you have them go show you a home that I have showed you within this 30-day protection period, and you go under contract and you actually purchase that home, the offer is accepted and you purchase that home, we are still required to be compensated because we were actually the procuring cost for you to find that property. D, the compensation will be due and payable at distribution of proceeds from the sale of the property by the closing attorney or upon buyer's default of any purchase agreement. If the buyer defaults, the total compensation that would have been due to the firm will be due and payable immediately in cash from the buyer. No assignment of rights in real property obtained by the buyer or any assignee of buyer or any personal legal entity acting on behalf of the buyer pursuant to this agreement shall operate to defeat any of the firm's rights under this agreement. So let's look at this note. This note is stating here that the buyer understands and acknowledges that there is the potential for a conflict of interest generated by a percentage of price-based fee for representing buyer. The amount, format, or rate of real estate commission is not fixed by law, but it is set by each broker individually and may be negotiable between buyer and firm. So that's like what I was saying before, just a little bit, the North Carolina Real Estate Commission nor the North Carolina Association of Realtors set the fee. They have nothing to do with that. We set that as our firm, and any of those rates that we set in any firm, they are negotiable between the buyer and the firm. So here we are in E. If the buyer purchases unimproved property, agent may assist buyer in identifying a contractor to make improvements on the property. Subject to the provisions of paragraph 10, buyer acknowledges and understands that in such a case, the contractor may offer to compensate the agent. The agent shall disclose to the buyer the existence of such an offer of compensation before the buyer enters into a contract with the contractor, and buyer hereby consents to the receipt by agent of any such compensation. So what this section is saying here, that you may decide to build on an unimproved land, and I can refer a contractor to you. Now, this contractor may want to compensate me for sending them a buyer to buy to build on their land. So this contractor may want to compensate me. It's just stating that I need to let you know that before you go into the contract, before you even submit an offer with them, I need to let you know, hey, this is builder ABC. And if you choose to, if you like this land, where it's at, location, all of that good stuff, this is the price, this is blah, 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 all of that good stuff about the property, the building of the property. And I need to let you know also they're going to compensate me for this. So this is what I need to share with you prior to you submitting an offer. Number 5, other potential buyers. Buyers understand that other prospective purchaser represented by firm may seek property, submit offers, and contract to purchase property through the firm, including the same or similar property. As buyer seeks to purchase, buyer acknowledges, understands, and consents to such representation of other prospective purchasers by firm through its agent. So this is saying that you understand that I don't only just work for you, but I have other clients as well. And some of my other clients that are under exclusive agency agreement with me, they may be looking at the same home that you look at. So you understand that we are representing other buyers as well. So we're on 6, and this is the firm's duties. A, general. During the terms of this agreement, the firm shall promote the interests of the buyer by performing the terms of this agreement, seeking property at a price and terms acceptable to the buyer, presenting in a timely manner all written offers to counter offers to and from buyer, disclosing to the buyer all material facts related to the property or concerning the transaction of which the firm has actual knowledge, and accounting for in a timely manner all money and property received in which the buyer has or may have an interest in. B is confidentiality. Unless otherwise provided by law or by consent in writing to the release of the information, the firm shall maintain the confidentiality of all person and financial information and other matters identified as confidential by the buyer. We have to keep everything that you say to us in confidence. We can't just go and share it with any and everybody about what's going on. We have to keep your information confidential. Standard of care. In satisfying firm's duty, the firm shall exercise ordinary care, comply with all applicable laws and regulations, and treat all prospective sellers honestly and not knowingly give them false information. D, representation of others. Firm may show the same property to other buyers, represent other buyers, represent sellers relative to other properties, or provide assistance to a seller or a prospective seller by performing ministerial acts that are not inconsistent with firm's duties under the agreement. E, submission of information to the listing service. Upon closing of any sale of property not entered in a listing service of which firm is a member, the buyer authorizes the firm to submit pertinent information concerning the property, including sale price, to such listing service. And we're at 7. Disclosure of buyer's name and mailing address. A, unless otherwise stated in paragraph 13 below, firm has buyer's permission to disclose buyer's names. B, in accordance with North Carolina General Statute section, if a dispute regarding the return or forfeiture of any earnest money deposit arises between the buyer and the seller of any real property, the buyer may agree to purchase the escrow agent holding the deposit may deposit the disputed money with the appropriate clerk of court following written notice to the parties. In the event of any such dispute, the buyer directs firm to disclose buyer's last known mailing address to the escrow agent upon request to enable the escrow agent to comply with the notice required of such law. So if any dispute took place in this transaction with you and the seller, and there was a termination of some sort, we would need to give the attorneys your mailing address so they can mail you your earnest money deposit once they receive the termination agreement. So we just needed your permission, and you are saying that it's okay for us to give the attorneys your mailing address so they can take care of that and send that to you in case if something like that was to take place. Okay, then I would need your initials, stating that you understand everything that was said before.